Hey guys, Prowl1701 here, and today we are going to talk about Bob Baker, the script writer for classic Doctor Who. Bob, along with his longtime collaborator Dave Martin, were really big in writing for 70s Doctor Who, and they almost did a story a season. I think they did 9 stories in the 70s, so almost a story a season. And I think all of them except the last one he did write with Dave Martin. I think Nightmare on Eden he wrote by himself, but we're just going to kind of take a look. I was going to rank them, but there's some of them I haven't seen yet, so instead of ranking them, we're just going to discuss them in order. The first one that they did was Claws of Axos. Now, I personally don't really care for Claws of Axos. It is my least favorite story from Season 8. Now, how much of that is down to the story and how much of that is down to the execution is up for debate. I do like some aspects of Claws of Axos, like the FBI guy that's running around after the Master. And I like Delgado, how his take on the Master is a little more frantic here, because unlike Terror of the Autons and Mind of Evil, where he's had time to set everything up, so he's very cool and calculated, he's having to work, just kind of make it up as he goes along. He's having to work on the fly, and he's a little more frantic, and Delgado does really good at doing his performance like that. It's a pretty good story, I think. I don't care for the overall product. I'm not a big fan of Claws of Axos. Now, the Mutants, I've never seen. That's one of the few Pertwee stories I haven't seen yet. I'm looking forward to Season 9 coming out on the Blu-ray collection so I can see the Mutants. I've never seen it. I don't really know much about its reputation. I've heard some people not like it. Some people think it's okay. Some people think it's underrated. I'm not quite sure the general consensus there. Now, next on the list is The Three Doctors. I love The Three Doctors. This is probably my favorite of Dave Martin and Bob Baker's stories. I absolutely love The Three Doctors. It's my favorite multi-Doctor story. It's my second favorite, probably third Doctor story after Inferno. I absolutely love The Three Doctors. Troughton just steals the show in it. I love how Troughton and Pertwee, how their doctors argue and squabble and don't get along. And the scene when the second Doctor first shows up in the TARDIS is one of my favorite scenes in all of Doctor Who. It's also worth noting that Bob Baker is one of the co-creators of Omega and of the Axons as well. Next on the list is the Sultan Experiment. This is a great two-parter. It's from my favorite season of Doctor Who. I love Season 12. The Sultan Experiment is great that it doesn't overstay its welcome. As a 4-parter, I don't know if it could have held its momentum, but as a 2-parter, it works perfectly. It's short, it's sweet, while still being really, really good. I love all of the location work done for it. It's a really good story that doesn't overstay its welcome. Next on the list is Hand of Fear. Now, this is a good story, but it is one of the weaker stories of Season 14. Season 14 is just such a phenomenal season, but Mask of Mandragora and Hand of Fear are the 2 weak stories. I do agree with a lot of people that Hand of Fear kind of falls apart in the 4th episode. I do like Sarah Jane's exit, although I do know Elizabeth and Tom pretty much wrote most of that. But Stephen Thorne, I think, is just not cast well as the male Eldrad. His voice is too recognizable as Omega's and as the Daemon from the Daemons. And just the way he acts here is so over the top. Again, a lot like Omega. And the way he trips over the scarf and falls into the pit is choreographed very badly. Like, on paper, that's a good idea. He runs, especially since he's a rock creature, he's so heavy. Him losing his momentum by tripping over something, I could see making him fall over like that and losing his momentum. But the way it's filmed and choreographed is very badly done. So while I like Hand of Fear, I do agree that Episode 4 does let it down. Next on the list is The Invisible Enemy, which is, there's only 3 Tom Baker stories I haven't seen. And sadly, 2 of them are by Bob Baker, and the first one is Invisible Enemy. I've never seen Invisible Enemy. I know it introduces K9. I know Bob Baker is the co-creator of K9 with Dave Martin. They created K9. That's a wonderful legacy to have. That's another one. I hear different things from the fandom. Some people don't like it. Some people think it's underrated. Some people just think it's okay. I'm looking forward to the Season 15 box set eventually coming out so I can watch it. They also did Underworld. I like Underworld. I think Underworld is underrated. I think the story for Underworld is fine. It's good. Underworld suffers from the same problem Power of Krull has, and that's they have the same director, and he is not good at directing Doctor Who. Because Power of Krull, as I've said many of times, is a decent edging into good Robert Holmes script. It's not Holmes' best work, for certain, but it's still a decent script on paper, edging into good. I think Underworld is actually a good script. I'm not saying a phenomenal script, but I think it's a good script. But I think that director, the guy who directed Power of Kroll and Underworld, the only two Doctor Who stories he directed to my knowledge, I just don't think he was good at doing Doctor Who. And I think the CSO shots are what really hurt Underworld. I think that's where Underworld gets its bad reputation. It's not the story. It's just, it's so infamous for having that really bad CSO work in the caves. It just pulls it down. If they could, you know, when the box set comes out, if that's the one that got the effects treatment and they cleaned up everything and really made the cave scenes look better, it would do a lot to help that story. But overall, I enjoy Underworld. I think it's underrated. And I definitely think it's not the worst story of season 15. And then they also did the Armageddon Factor. I like the Armageddon Factor. This is another one I think is underrated. I don't think it's season 16's best story. I think Ribos or Rebus or however it's pronounced, and Pirate Planet are both better stories. But I think Armageddon Factor is probably my third favorite on the list. I do like it better than Stones of Blood, Androids of Terra, and definitely Power of Kroll. The villain in it, the Shadow character, is a little over the top with his acting. He's a little hammy. Whoa, doctor. He's a little hammy, which it's kind of a problem in the Williams era, much like the tax collector in Sunmakers is a little over the top, and that can detract from the story a little. Also, you have that one guy in the military here who, when he fires his gun, he always goes like rigid, as stiff as a board, and holds his gun like this and fires and gets this weird look on his face. Some hammy acting. But I think the leader of the military, the guy with the gray hair who has the thing on his neck, he does a really good job. I like his acting in this. I love the scene when the shadow creature tries to put one on the Doctor, and Tom Baker's just like, what's this? Was this supposed to do something? You know? So it's just Tom Baker being amazing. I love the way he acts that scene. Lala Ward is great as Astra here. I like that the Doctor picks up quick on K9 being reprogrammed when K9 calls him Doctor, and he's just like, Doctor. It's a good story. I like everything with the time loop with space. I think it's actually way better than people give it credit for. I actually really enjoy the Armageddon Factor. And then lastly, I think I'm on the last one here, is by himself. He did Nightmare on Eden, or Nightmare of Eden, Nightmare on Eden, Nightmare of Eden, whichever one it is. I haven't seen that one either. That's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to the season 17 set. Now, this is another one I've heard is not good, but I've also heard it's underrated. I know Winky Media thinks it's underrated. I've heard other people say it's underrated. So I'm curious to see what I will think of that when the season box set comes out next month. That's actually something I'm really looking forward to. Just as I know Bob Baker is who the in-depth interview with on the season 17 box set. He's the one that has like that hour-long interview. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Gonna be probably a little sadder to watch now, as one of the guys on the merchandise forum pointed out, but I am still looking forward to seeing it and being able to hear his thoughts on the show. I'm really looking forward to Nightmare on Eden as well. Also, it's come to my attention that Bob Baker was the last surviving script writer for the Pertwee era, and that's a sad realization, because the Pertwee era is such a strong era. It's if you take a Doctor's era by their whole tenure, so looking even at Tom Baker's era as just one era, the Pertwee era probably had the best writing of any era of Doctor Who, more so than Russell's era, more so than all, the 9th Doctor era, the 10th Doctor era, in the 4th Doctor era, if you take it as a whole. I think the Pertwee's era probably had the strongest writing, and it's sad to realize that all of those talented writers are gone now. But it's really nice that we have all of Pertwee's era surviving in one form or another, even if it's not the original master tapes, but all of the episodes for him survive. And that we can watch those, and future generations can watch those and fall in love with the Third Doctor the way so many of us have, because it is such a strong era of such strong writing, such strong casting, such strong directing and production teams, and such a strong producer and script editor. It's such a good era, and Bob Baker was a great contributor to the Third Doctor era and the Fourth Doctor era, and he will be missed, but his legacy will continue. It will continue. So I just wanted to do this kind of in tribute of Bob Baker, and to find out what you thought of his various stories as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. Other things to do: click the like button, click the subscribe button, Click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to support what I do, there is a link to that down in the description below if you'll take a second and check that out. But most importantly, thank you for watching.